You know, I don't even know when exactly it was that I feel like the light came on. I feel like I don't know, just something started recently and I feel like a light in me has been flickering on and off and on and off like I don't know, almost like a strobe light. It's strange because I feel like when it stops I go between being in this really dark place to being in this not really light place, but in this place where I don't know, I just see things differently. And it's funny. I find myself. I know I haven't said much to you, but I found myself lately remembering all the things that you wanted me to do that I just brushed them off. I didn't really understand, and I kind of felt like you were trying to like mother me, but I realized it wasn't mothering. Like moms do that stuff because they love you, and it makes sense that a feminine who loves you of any kind would want you to do things like take care of your body and eat better and think nice things about yourself. Do little things for yourself that make you feel good. I want you to stand up for yourself and speak your truth. Somebody who would, I mean, in a metaphorical way, remind you to put your coat on when it's cold outside or want to help you feel better when you feel sick. Just little things like that. And especially being with this karmic, I don't even know how I managed to block it out for so long because I know that I saw it. I saw it in the beginning. I almost, I know it feels crazy, but I just, in many ways, I feel like I've been under some sort of weird spell. But I'm afraid to say that to anybody because I mean, for one thing, it feels like a horrible excuse. Also, see that I stayed, and I don't really understand why I did. I just know that I did, and I can't blame anybody else for that. But I know that I saw that she didn't really know how to accept compliments, but she'd get mad anytime I'd say anything nice about you, or I don't know, it was kind of funny because I could give her all the compliments in the world, but if they weren't the compliments I was giving you, well, then I was wrong and I was bad. And then when I'd give her compliments, it's like they'd float right over her head, or she'd go from this place of like, I'd compliment her and say, oh, it's really nice of you to do the dishes or something like that. And she'd go on this tirade about how nobody ever appreciates her. And I just got to thinking, like, well, but I'm standing here appreciating you. Don't you? I mean, if nobody's ever appreciated you, then wouldn't you really appreciate this moment? And honestly, it made me think about how I was that way with you. I didn't appreciate how just randomly sometimes in the middle of the day you'd call me or text me or look at me and say, "Do you know how wonderful you are?" Or you'd ask me what I'm grateful for, or you'd just tell me that you find something that I'm doing so adorable. And I did love it then, and I liked it, but I look back at myself then and I realize, I never really said thank you. I never really appreciated how much of a difference that makes. And having been in the separation with people that, I mean, they hardly say thank you for anything or please. And I remember I used to be so annoyed by my mom always getting on me about pleases and thank yous and no thank yous and stuff like that. And I don't know, I guess I took it for granted that you were not just polite. Like, I mean, you know what I mean. There are people that do things just to be polite, but they're so fake. But you did it because you liked it. You liked saying thank you. You liked saying please. And you thanked me for things that nobody else would have because they were just things you're expected to do, to take out the garbage, to pay the bills, to I don't know, just do normal things, but you always made a point. And you told me so several times, and it didn't quite click then that you never wanted to take for granted the little moments. And you told me even after I left, when I was already fed up of the lack of appreciation, that I should stand up for myself and I should say something. I should have good boundaries because even though it's a little thing right now, little things add up quick. And I feel so silly because I understood what you meant in terms of bad things. Like when people don't say thank you regularly, when you have to ask for it, when they don't say please, when they don't say I appreciate how you do this or do that. Yeah, that adds up. But then little violations of your personal space, of your privacy, of things like that. Like, I get that. I get how those things add up, but I really never thought about how it works the other way, too. That the more often that somebody says thank you because they want to, the more often they say nice things, that they reassure you, that they tell you you can do it, that they do something to make your life easier. And they do, I remember you used to do just little romantic things for me. You'd leave me little reassuring notes about how you love it when I smile. Or you'd tell me I did good at work by deciding to do the right thing instead of cutting corners because I was tired. Or how it was good that I spoke my truth even though it was hard. Or that no matter how crazy things got, you reminded me to listen to my music, do my music therapy. And no matter how angry I make you sometimes, you still stop and appreciate me when I do good. Even if it's, well, I'm really proud of you for doing good, but I'm still mad at you for ABC. You still do it. I don't know anybody like you, feminine. And it just made me realize, yes, little things can add up. Little bad things can add up, but little good things add up too. And they make such a difference both ways. Like, you shouldn't just let all the little things slide just because it's a little thing and it feels weird to have a problem with it, because it's better to say something and have it be clear from the beginning before it becomes 5, 6, 15, 21 times that it's happened, and then you say something and then you're super bothered by it and you're feeling hurt because on top of it happening that many times, when you told yourself over and over again it was just a little thing, it didn't matter this time, or it was understandable, or whatever thing, and then it's happened so many times and you can't believe that they just keep doing it and don't get it. They don't see that you're unhappy. They don't get the hints. They don't hear you saying, please don't do that. They don't see the look on your face. But on top of that, they don't say thank you and they don't appreciate anything. And it made me think about some of the things that you've said to me about how it's not just you, that other people see how unhappy I am. And other people have told me that too. I still remember from the first moment I met you to when we were together, everybody told me I looked so happy, that I seemed like a completely different person. And I don't know, when I left, I got told the same thing, but it wasn't in a good way. It wasn't, oh, you look so happy. It wasn't, oh, yeah, this karmic is so good for you and you made such a good move and you look so great and suave and you feel just like a different person. It was more like, who are you and are you okay? And you look like shit and what's going on with you? You don't seem happy. You seem like a lot of things are wrong. And I never wanted to talk about it, which then, of course, made people worry more, you know? And I remember when they told me that I looked so happy with you, and I would always say, yeah, because I moved in with this feminine, and she's kind of amazing. And then I don't know, that brought me to kind of a sad place because then I remembered when I stopped saying things like that. When I stopped appreciating the little things that you did and started focusing on the few crappy things that you did. And I remember you telling me that a couple of times that, you were willing to own and work on the things you didn't do right, but that you just wished that I would spend more time acknowledging what you did right and less time picking at the few things you did wrong. And after living in this separation with somebody who's done that to me, I feel like the most awful person ever because I really didn't see what I was doing. And I didn't want to believe that you were right, that I was letting my anxiety get the best of me, that I was responsible for why things weren't going anywhere, and that, I don't know, I didn't want to be the villain in my own story. I didn't want to be that immature. I didn't really want it to be true that I had left you carrying us for so long, especially emotionally and energetically. I didn't want to feel like that. I wanted you to be wrong so bad because if you were right, then I hurt you a lot. And that just killed me inside. And I don't know, when you finally told me to go and I left, I knew that I shouldn't have. I knew that I should have turned around and said, "No, please, feminine, let me make this up to you for real." But I had gone far enough, and I knew that you were right, that I had a lot to learn. And somehow I guess I just shut off a big part of me, and I didn't want to think about it. And then I remember that I thought, you know what, I need to, like when I realized what a mess I had made, and when other people started seeing that you on your own were quite amazing. You weren't jumping in and out of relationships. You weren't being dramatic. You hadn't tied yourself to karmics that everybody hated. You weren't complaining about how life was going, whether you had lots of money or none, whether your health was great or horrible. None of it. You didn't complain about any of the burdens. You didn't whine about how life did you wrong. You didn't make me out to be a bad guy. You did tell the truth about how I was behaving, and that I won't say it made me look like a bad guy, but it revealed how much of a jerk I was being. And in many ways, I admit I let myself believe that you were just being cruel and unkind, but I still couldn't get over the fact that you weren't making anything up. And it was especially hard because you didn't hide anything about what you did. And I saw more and more people start following you and liking you because you talked about your dark side too, and your shadow work, and the things that you were doing to grow. And then I realized I didn't have it bad because I was somehow unlucky or unlovable or unlikable, and that you didn't have it good just because, like, somebody handed it to you. You earned it. You worked on yourself. You didn't just jump in to things to distract yourself. You actually worked on you, and you were honest about all the good and bad and crazy and ugly. And it's funny because it made none of it ugly. And people felt good about talking to you and sharing all of who they are, and like they didn't have to pretend with you. They started coming to you asking what you thought they should do and listening to you. And I know you, and I, as much as I still have, I just one of these days I'm going to tell you how much I've been following you on social medias and stuff and watching you glow up. And to be honest, it's made me quite jealous because I never expected it. For one, I just figured that I don't know, I had you up on a pedestal. I figured somebody would come and swoop you up real quick, and why would you say no? I'd neglected you for so long and made you wait for so long, and why wouldn't you accept somebody wanting to love you all in all the ways I should have been? And on the other side, I admit that even though in many ways I felt like you were just this angel on high in a cloud that I could never really reach, and that even if I tried, I'd never be able to get up there with you. I also didn't really believe that anybody could really be that good. I thought that you were just a really good actor or actress. I mean, really feminine. I've never known anybody like you, even the best of people, especially when it comes to relationships. I've never known anybody who would not just choose to be alone, but choose to be alone and be happy. And not in some like I expected if you'd be alone you'd be bitter or horrible or chasing me, or that you'd be mad, or that it would be because there'd be something wrong with you or something like that. But I never expected to see you choose to be single and to know that you have so many positive traits and characteristics, that it's not because there's anything wrong with you, that it's because you're choosing you and changing things all around you, not because there's anything wrong with them even, but simply because it's fun. And now I see, I don't know, I see and I can feel that you're open to others now, and that you're not rushing into anything, but I can feel it, and it scares me a lot. It feels like I'm running out of time. Like somebody's going to scoop you up soon, and that even though I oddly also know that because you genuinely love me, that I'm never going to lose that. I also I worry because I've got so much work ahead of me. I've got so many things I still have to do to grow, and not even because you require them necessarily. I mean, you have far better boundaries. I know you're never going to let me treat you the ways that I did in good, because it's horrible that I ever did. And in many ways horrible that you let me. And I know that you see that, but I also know I also know that I could never lose your love, and that's a funny thing. I realized the other day. I created a lot of the problems with us because every time I felt like you genuinely loved me, it felt like I was going to lose it. I was going to fuck it up in some way, and you would take it away, and that would hurt more than anything else I've ever felt in the world. To feel truly loved by somebody and then to have it all taken away, it just felt, even just the thought of it felt completely awful. But even in this separation, even after you telling me to go and I left and I screwed everything up in the most incredible and horrible and damnable ways, you never stopped loving me. You never made big moves. You never pushed me into anything. You never, I don't know, you just were there in whatever way. A friend, a confidant, an ex, a current, a co-parent, whatever way. You just rolled with it and seemed to appreciate every moment of it. And you did your thing. And you let me do my thing. And it just seemed, I don't know, it's funny because at one point when I did hurt you again, and you had good enough boundaries this time to say, you know what? Masculine, that's not acceptable. And you pulled away. I thought I had finally done it. I'd finally lost your love, and I actually realized in that moment that I didn't, and I never could, and that has been the lesson that I was supposed to have been learning this whole time. But I still think about it, like, what if a soulmate comes to you, or even a karmic, like, even like, what if somebody wraps you up in the love that I should have been giving you this whole time, and that when I finally get up the courage to say, feminine, I've always been yours, and I so much want for you to be mine again, that you will be like, no way, masculine, not a chance. I am enjoying myself with this new masculine, and they're giving me everything and anything I could ever want, and I would never leave them to go back to somebody who hurt me, even if you could prove that you had totally changed and improved and would never hurt me again, because you lost and you messed up. Because feminine, that's what I'm used to. Even with somebody who is not even what 1/16th as wonderful as you are, who mistreated me left and right, who I did most everything right with, they would say that just to make me hurt, even if they would take me back and play with my head. They would tell me, no, it's done, never again, just to see how hard I would work, how high I might jump. And I don't know, what's funny is if you told me all that stuff, I would absolutely understand. And I don't think I would take it like I would from them, but it feels like it would hurt so much worse to hear it from you than from them, because if you were to say that, it would be true. And I don't know, I guess I just feel like I need to hurry up because I don't know, like I feel like in so many ways there's no competition for me for you, but I also still don't feel very good about myself, and I've made so many messes that it's like I woke up from a coma and realized I'm so far away from my feminine, so far away, physically, emotionally, and I've got all these messes I've got to untangle with multiple karmics and bad habits and behaviors that you told me to work on so long ago, and that you've been an example of in all this time. I really, in some ways, I tried to convince myself that you were just a hypocrite, but I realized you were just so wrapped up in trying to save me and heal me that you weren't working on you. And then I've watched you. You've put into practice everything that you suggested that I do, and it's worked. It's worked for you. And now, whereas I jumped out there like the hare and you took the slow tortoise path, I see that you are on your path to success and doing so well. No matter what's going on, you're upheld by the community and supported. And me, I got arrogant. I thought that I could run the race any day, so there was no reason to prepare or think ahead or listen to what my feminine lovingly told me. Things as simple as wear a coat when it's cold so you don't get sick. Put something good in your tummy so that you don't poop funny. And now it feels like those are all the things I need to do, and it feels like there's so many more of them, even. I've not taken very good care of myself, just in my attempts to not think about you. And I, I've never had an experience where, I've done everything: drinking, drugs, sex, distractions, wrapping myself up in other people's problems, becoming a complete workaholic, focusing on the money, everything I could think of to try to stop thinking about you, to stop loving you, to stop feeling you loving me, even when you weren't saying a thing, even when we weren't connected at all. It drove me nuts in many ways. And the funny thing is, you know what happened, feminine? No matter what I tried, it didn't work. I always came back to you, especially like in those moments when I just lay down to go to sleep, and then my mind would run wild with everything I was trying to avoid thinking about with you all day. And there would be nothing to distract my mind at that point. And it was either get up and don't sleep to keep the distractions going, or let myself think. And that's when it would all flood in, the signs and the synchronicities, and how much I missed you, and how bad I felt about how I treated you, and all the things I could be doing to fix it if I just got up the courage to. And then eventually, what's funny is no matter how many distractions I looked for, and no matter how many ways the karmics did their best, oh, they did everything from pretending to be you, to demanding that I do what they tell me to trying to get me so upset at you. They even made things up about you. and made it believable enough that I thought it was true for a minute. But none of it worked. Even if they could get me mad at you or us fighting or distract me or pretend to be better than you, which they never could keep up for more than maybe an hour. None of it worked. And I found that the more I pulled away from you and the more I tried to tell myself to move on from you, the more I was doing things that you used to do. I even, I know it sounds silly, but lately I get up in the mirror and I tell myself, I love you and you look good and you deserve the best. And I always hear your voice when I think that to myself. And I laugh because it's such a simple thing and it does make me feel better. And that's another thing you suggested that I do, that I fought so stubbornly against, thinking it was so stupid. But it feels good. And then in the moments when I finally get some alone time, when I think, oh, I'm going to work on the car, or I'm going to do this thing that I've been wanting to do, or I'm going to play some music, or I'm going to do something that I keep complaining I don't have the time to, I don't. Instead, I read. I learn about something new. I write little stories, just little nothings that really have nothing to do with reality. I think about self-improvement. I let myself daydream. I let myself just sit and do nothing. And all of those were things that I remember that you did. And I used to think it was adorable in many ways, and in other ways I thought it was so childish that you'd spend so much time doing things like that when there were so many adult things that needed to be done. But then I found myself doing them and then I understood. And I realized that I was finding a way to connect with you and that I couldn't even help it. That I missed you so much and that no matter how much of my pride said, no, you made a commitment to a new person, or you're supposed to get over it, or you're supposed to be mad at her, or you're supposed to be different, or you weren't good enough for her. I swear, I had lists of reasons of why I needed to stay away from you, and none of them worked. And then I found myself doing things that you used to do, and I laughed at myself and thought, masculine, what are you doing? You love this feminine, and you might as well just stop trying to pretend that you don't and that you could be happy with anyone else or being so far away. And I guess maybe that's when it clicked and I woke up and I realized I needed to get to work. And that's what I'm doing. I might reach out to you a little bit more. I'm going to try because I want to, because I realize I've been so quiet and so distant, and you've always been so open and so willing and so ready, and you don't expect anything of me. That's the silly thing. But either way, just know whether I get up the courage to reach out to you or not, I'm always thinking of you. And now more than ever, I'm doing the things that you suggested that I do. And I'm learning how to take better care of myself. I'm learning to say no when I don't want to, and yes, only when I really do. I'm learning to eat a little bit better, to pay more attention to my body and not fill it with so much crap. And funny enough, one of the simplest things that's helped the most is I'm giving myself permission to think about you whenever it comes up. And strangely enough, the more I do that, the less I find myself obsessing so much, and the more I find myself just enjoying it. When I see a bird fly by and I think about how you'd know exactly what it means or what energy it is, or when I see a strange pink rock in the middle of the road and know that you'd think that's a synchronicity. Or when something comes up on social media that reminds me of a memory of us, I give myself permission to love it. And it's kind of amazing how such a simple little thing has changed my whole energy and made me just feel so different. I don't know. I'm coming your way, feminine, and to be honest, I want it to be super quick, but I don't want to come to you and not be able to prove that I am not who I was.